Okay, so are you ready to dive into this whole Squadron Leader thing?
Yeah.
Because I gotta say, the stuff you sent over, it's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, it really makes you think about what leadership really means, you know?
Totally. Like, I always pictured, fighter pilots, Top Gun, that whole image.
The maverick stereotype.
Exactly. But these resources, they're showing it's way more than just combat.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking ground operations, armored units, even humanitarian aid missions. It's like a masterclass in leadership, but across all these different fields.
That's what I thought was so interesting. It's not just about, giving orders. It's about understanding people, inspiring them, making tough calls under pressure.
It's that human element, right? Like
Yeah.
anyone can bark out orders, but to truly lead, you have to connect with your team on a deeper level. And the sources we've got here, they really emphasize that.
Yeah, and then you bring in all this new technology that's changing everything. Like, I've been hearing a lot about this platform, RoleCatcher.
RoleCatcher, yeah. It's a game changer, especially now with AI becoming such a big part of the job hunting process.
Okay, so tell me more about that, because that's what I find so fascinating. It's like, how do you even begin to navigate that?
Well, think about it this way. You're no longer just trying to impress a human recruiter. You've got algorithms scanning your resume, looking for specific keywords, skills, you name it.
So it's like this whole other language you need to speak.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in. It's almost like having a secret weapon. It analyzes job descriptions and tells you exactly what skills to highlight so that you stand out to the AI.
That's amazing. It's like having a cheat code for the application process.
It's like leveling up your application before it even reaches a human.
That is wild.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got these super high stakes leadership roles, and now technology is changing how people even get those roles in the first place. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. But getting back to the core of it, the actual path to becoming a squadron leader, it seems pretty structured.
Okay, so walk me through it. Where does it all begin?
So at the entry level, you're mainly assisting senior leaders, gaining practical experience, building that foundation.
Like an apprenticeship?
Exactly. You're learning the ropes, proving yourself.
And then as you move up the ranks,
The responsibilities obviously get bigger. You're leading larger teams, developing operational plans, building relationships with key stakeholders.
so it's not just about what you know, but who you know too.
Yeah. Networking is huge, absolutely. And then at the highest levels, you're talking about providing guidance that could impact, an entire mission. The stakes are high.
That's a lot of pressure. So it sounds like it's not just about how many years you've put in, but how you've grown as a leader along the way.
Exactly. And how well you can adapt because things change quickly in that world. One thing I found interesting was that while combat experience is valuable, the sources we looked at emphasize that it's not the be-all and end-all.
Really. So what are we talking about instead? What are the skills that really make someone stand out?
Think strong leadership, specialized knowledge, the ability to manage a squadron effectively. Those are the keys. It's less about being a war hero and more about having the skills and temperament to lead in high-pressure situations.
That's interesting. It definitely changes who we might picture in this role. Makes me wonder, could someone from a completely different background still excel as a squadron leader? Someone with like a tech background, for instance.
That's a really interesting question. And it leads us to what I think is the really interesting part of all this, the role of AI, not just in recruitment, but on the battlefield itself.
We're talking drones, autonomous weapon systems.
Exactly. And how does that change the game for squadron leaders? How do you lead when your team includes machines?
Okay, now we're getting into some seriously futuristic stuff. It's like we're seeing those classic Top Gun squadron leaders, but through this whole new lens, right? Like it's not just about dogfighting anymore.
Not even close. And that's what makes this question so interesting. Could someone with, say, deep knowledge of drone operations actually become a squadron leader, even without that traditional combat experience?
It's not something the sources really addressed directly, but it feels like it's got to be on the horizon, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just drones, cybersecurity, data analysis, working with AI-powered units. Those all need leadership too.
Absolutely. And the skill set for that might look totally different. Imagine a squadron leader who's an expert in cyber warfare leading a team to neutralize threats digitally before anything even happens on a physical battlefield.
Okay, see, now that's just mind-blowing. And it makes you think, like, how is the very idea of what leadership means changing, even outside the military? Our sources are focused on right now, but they almost force you to think about what's next.
It's like a sneak peek into the future of leadership. It's not just about bravery or giving orders, it's about intellectual agility, being comfortable with technology, and navigating these really complex ethical situations.
And those are things everyone's going to need, right?
Yeah,
Not just in the military. The whole world is changing faster than ever.
no doubt about it. Knowing how to lead in this kind of environment, that's valuable everywhere.
You know, with all this talk about AI and the future of warfare, it's easy to forget about the human side of things. One thing I really appreciated from RoleCatcher was how they broke down leadership skills into these really specific examples.
Yes, instead of just saying, be a good leader, they actually tell you what that looks like.
Right. So for a junior officer, it might be provide guidance and mentorship to subordinates, not just giving orders, but actively helping your team grow.
And as a squadron leader, it talks about fostering a culture of excellence, discipline, and teamwork. You're creating an environment where people can do their best work.
Which, I mean, think about that in the context of leading AI units.
Huh.
Knowing how to motivate and inspire people is
Yeah.
even more important, right?
Because those are the things AI can't do, at least not yet.
Exactly. So no matter how advanced technology gets, that human element connecting with your team, inspiring them, building trust, that's always going to be essential.
Oh, for sure. And let's not forget about that upward communication, too.
Yes.
Staying connected with senior leadership, it's a two-way street.
Right. You're leading your team, but also making sure everyone's on the same page with the folks above you.
Which, again, those are leadership skills that apply anywhere.
Totally. Clear communication, empathy, knowing how to motivate people towards a shared goal. That's timeless leadership.
It really makes you wonder how different this would have sounded even 10 years ago. I bet the emphasis on emotional intelligence and all that has really increased.
Oh, absolutely. Times have changed, and the skills you need to be an effective leader, they've had to change too.
Speaking of changing, can we circle back to that AI interview prep stuff from RoleCatcher for a sec? You seemed really interested in the feedback part.
Oh, yeah. The AI giving you feedback, that's like having a personal coach analyze your every word, every gesture. So how's that actually work?
Okay, so imagine this. You've got your answers ready for all those typical interview questions, right? You've used RoleCatcher's database to help you prep, but now you want to see how you come across on camera.
Makes sense. Presentation is everything, especially in those high-pressure situations.
Exactly. So you record yourself answering those questions like you're doing a mock interview. But here's where it gets cool. The AI analyzes that video.
Wait, it watches you. Like it sees your body language and everything.
Exactly. It's looking at your eye contact, hand gestures, how your tone of voice comes across all those little things.
No way. And then what? It gives you feedback on all of that.
Yep. It might say something like, maintain eye contact a little longer, or try to vary your tone of voice more, or even project more confidence with your posture.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon to help you ace those interviews. It's amazing how accessible this kind of technology is becoming. It's not just about who can afford an expensive coach anymore.
I completely agree. It's really leveling the playing field.
Okay, so we've talked about AI recruitment, AI on the battlefield, even AI interview coaches. But there's one final point from the materials you sent that I think brings us full circle.
And it's a big one. The sources focus heavily on these traditional military career paths, right?
Right, like climbing the ranks.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder, what about everything else? What about all the other ways someone could become a squadron leader in the future?
That's what I'm thinking. We've seen how the role is evolving, but how far could that go? Like, what about someone who's super passionate about, say, humanitarian aid? Could they become a squadron leader and really focus on those kinds of missions?
It's interesting. Our sources mention humanitarian aid, but it's not the main focus. It would be fascinating to dive into how all those leadership skills we talked about, how those translate to that kind of situation.
Right, because it's still about strategy, adaptability, inspiring people, just in a different context.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, as technology keeps changing, what it means to fight a war. Are we going to see even more squadron leaders who specialize in things like disaster relief, peacekeeping, even cyber defense?
It's like the whole definition of mission is expanding.
Absolutely.
It's like we're seeing a new kind of leader emerge, one who's equipped to handle all these challenges of the 21st century and beyond even.
And that's something for everyone to consider, not just people who want to be squadron leaders. How are we even defining leadership these days, especially with all these complex global problems? What skills are going to matter most?
So, as always, we're leaving you with more questions than answers. But hopefully it sparks some ideas.
Think of it as fuel for your own explorations.
Love that. Because the best discoveries are usually the ones we make ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of squadron leaders, what they do, how they get there, and what the future might hold.
My pleasure. Always a fascinating topic.
Till next time, stay curious out there.